Hi, I'm Johnny Estes with CMI Gold Silver.
And I'm Shannon Estes.
Thanks for joining our show, Johnny on the Spot, where we are going to talk about all things precious metals.
CMI has been in Phoenix since 1973. We are the oldest precious metals firm in the U.S.
You can find us on the website at cmigs.com. That's cmigs.com.
On Instagram at CMI Gold Silver and Facebook CMI Gold and Silver.
And you can also search us on YouTube. Find us on YouTube by searching CMIGS.
Okay, today we're going to talk about storage of precious metals. There's a couple different options for people. Precious metals storage can include a safe deposit box at the bank, a personal home safe, even creative hiding spots. But today we're going to focus on the personal home safe, especially a brand known as Fort Knox, available from Safe City in Mesa, Arizona.
Yeah, so we've talked about professional storage in a previous one, but today we're going to be talking about another option, and it's securing your valuables, precious metals, guns, jewelry at home.
With the owner of Safe City in Mesa, Jesse Crosby. You want to introduce?
Yeah, so we got Jesse on the phone today with us, and he is the Fort Knox dealer. He's been in the Valley as long as we have. And Jesse, you're on with us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself, Jesse?
My name's Jesse Crosby. I own Safe City. It's the largest safe dealer in the state of Arizona. We specialize in luxury and also precious metal storage, high-end things that people have worked forever to get and they want to keep. They don't want it to get stolen or taken.
Yeah, and Jesse, your dad and Shannon's dad, my father-in-law, they were doing business when we didn't care about business, right?
That's right. That's right.
So how long has Safe City been in the Valley then, Jesse?
We've been in business since 1994, so we're 31 years. We specialize in U.S. product only. Majority of the safes in the industry are imported from China, so we don't encourage that, and we definitely recommend U.S. products because it's built that much better than imports.
Yeah.
Many precious metals investors I know like having storage at home because they have quick and easy access if they want to move it, sell it, give it away for a gift, or just having it close to them. So this is excellent.
I think that one of the problems, and we'll talk about this, one of the funny problem that we had, that Shannon and I had was, I bought one of your big safes and had the bolts that come out on all sides. What was with the black and chrome? Anyway, what's that? The corner ones?
Bolts.
The corner bolts, yeah. And Shannon told me one day, she's like, you need to clean up your safe because there's no room in there. I said, well, there's no room in there because all your stuff is in there. She says, I don't have any stuff in there. I said, bull crap. And so we had an argument. So my next call was to you, and we got her a small, the Maverick style Tiffany blue one. And guess what, Jesse? I got lots of room in my safe now. I don't know how that happened.
I have to say,
and hers is probably full.
It is, but it is a smaller safe. It's a beautiful little baby blue. I love it. And there's other colors, right?
Yeah. Well, there's. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't there a pretty maroon or something, or a burgundy? I don't know, but I do love my little blue safe. Tell us about Fort Knox safes.
Yeah, tell us what makes Fort Knox better than the Chinese knockoffs at. I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry, strike that. I didn't say that. It was Fernellas.
No, the box stores.
The big box stores. We'll just call them the big box stores. So, Fort Knox is still family owned. They build out of a unibody construction, which means the body's all one piece, which means less welds, which means more security. The strength of two pieces of metal coming together is only as good as its weld. So Fort Knox tries to minimize the welds on the body so that they are just much more secure than what's out in the industry. We also use Type C fireboard, which is the most expensive as far as protecting from fire and things like that. And we disclose a lot of things. There's a lot of things that people can say and turn into really good salesmen, but I was always taught if it's not written down, it's not true or it's not happening. So Fort Knox does a great job of giving everything in writing in their catalog and really making customers feel good about their purchase, because there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of junk out there.
Well, one question I had that wasn't on here, what's the difference between regular fire code drywall and your Class C is it a gypsum product, or what's the filler?
It's definitely a gypsum product. So there's regular, there's Type X, and there's Type C. Typically what it means is how long is the fireboard going to last before it starts to emit water vapor, which then when it gets out of the drywall, it becomes brittle and falls apart. So Type C is hydrogen infused. It's designed to stay together a lot longer than your typical drywall or Type X. So you're going to get a much better performance as far as when you have a fire, as far as that drywall not becoming brittle and falling apart.
And any male will know that putting their hand through drywall can either be good or bad. So
I have a question. I'm trying to formulate this. Since we are looking at safes for the storage of precious metals, what type of a safe should someone, what rating or whatever, what characteristics should a safe have for someone wanting to secure their precious metals?
Don't you have different grades of safes?
Absolutely. So what I tell them is, first of all, it's none of my business what people keep in their safes, but I do tell them when they come in and they're looking at safes, living by the rule of 10% sometimes is a good thing. And I tell people, take all the assets that are not insured by your typical homeowner's insurance policy, that you probably don't have riders on. And most of us that keep our gold and silver and stuff at home, we don't get to play by the same rules as someone that keeps it in a commercial location. So it's very important that, for example, if I've got $100,000 worth of precious metals at my home, spending $5,000 to $10,000 on a safe to protect that isn't a bad trade-off, especially if I'm going to pay for the convenience of having it in my home where I can access it whenever I like and freely, and I don't have to worry about banker's hours or this bank getting bought out by another bank and then it's on hold for 90 days. So,
what's the biggest mistake people make when they buy a safe? Well, other than it's too small.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never had anybody come into my shop and go, "Hey, you sold me a safe that was too big." The biggest mistake most people make is, I encourage people to shop around. We know it's a big purchase at Safe City. We know it's important. I could argue that it's probably the biggest investment you're going to make because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. We do that with our homes, but our homes can be burglarized and things can be taken very quickly. Whereas if everything's in a safe, that's not going to happen. So I think most people they need to shop around. It's not an impulse buy. Buying a safe at a big box store that's $700 to keep $80,000 worth of precious metals in it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I agree with that. Before we move on, I just want to ask: did you make? Was it you that made that video of? It was kind of a rudimentary video where a couple guys in hoods came and got a big box store safe and pushed it on the back and took a couple crowbars and busted into it real quick. Was that you or is that somebody else?
That was another dealer, but yeah, that's a great point. So with a lot of these imports, a lot of the big box stores, they're glorified lockers. I wouldn't even give them the decency of calling them safes because they're not. So if you can pry a safe like that, there's videos on YouTube of Sawzalls being used to cut through 12, 14, 16 gauge. You have to understand that a majority of this big box store import stuff is very thin on the body. Going back to the drywall from China has a lot of sulfur in it, which is very corrosive to metals. So people are storing weapons and especially precious metals in these
corrosive safes.
And then they're surprised when it starts to tarnish or starts to rust in some cases as far as firearms. But you've got to just shop around and
do your due diligence, basically.
Absolutely.
So the safe that I like, the little blue one that I have, is a standing safe.
It's a Maverick.
And it just stands. So what are the types of safes do you offer, Jesse? Do you do?
So Maverick is our entry level. I hate calling it our entry level, but it is.
It's a beautiful safe. It's
my
great.
My Maverick safe will compete with everybody else's mid-level product line. So we do a lot of customization. We can add AR500 plate. We can add stainless. We can do left-hand swing. We can do right-hand swing. We can do internal hinge. We can do external hinge. We have a variety of different paint options, including if you wanted to get the paint code to match your car. We've done that in the past. So we offer more options than any of our competitors here in the United States.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you. I don't like the word entry level because it somehow denotes that it's less, but it really is not. We own a few of them. As you know, we do some trade shows like with Barrett Jackson and some of these other things. And one of the reasons why I chose the Maverick is because even though it's a freaking heavy safe, by the way, getting it in and out of the safe, I swear at you every time, or out of our trailer. But it is there's a purpose, like sliding it in your closet, having small spaces, and getting it into narrow, tight spaces. I know that you took a safe up our stairs. In fact, you took that safe up the stairs. That was not an easy task. And
that leads to the next question about, let's say somebody buys a safe, a Fort Knox safe, and you provide all the installation?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Shannon. So we just found out. So let me just first off state that I've got two sons that work for me. Our vehicles aren't marked, our trailers aren't marked, and the safe box is not marked. So that's very crucial because we don't want to advertise to everybody in the neighborhood that you're getting a safe. That's the less people that know you have this, the better off you're going to be.
Absolutely.
We just found out that most all of our competitors here in the Valley have gone to a third-party delivery service, which is absolutely makes no sense. So we do everything in-house. We sell you the safe, we deliver it, whereas a lot of people now with third-party, now you've got three guys that have no affiliation with the company that you just bought your safe from, delivering your safe, knows where your safe's located, and to me, that's just bad business because now you've got three more people that have know the location, that have no affiliation with your company whatsoever. So it's very crucial that when you're shopping for this stuff, that you ask questions like that. Hey, what kind of truck do you drive? You know, I don't want a box truck with, you know, Safes R Us pulling up in front of the house and letting the whole neighborhood know that we're getting a safe because that's not what you want.
That's a very good point.
So speaking of installation, you put it in the house. You of course get it in somehow in some way and up somebody's stupid stairs or whatever. Are you just setting it on the ground, or what do you recommend with that?
Well, in some cases we can. You know, the Valley unfortunately has a lot of post-tension slab homes, so it's very difficult to anchor into those because we don't want to disturb any warranties that may come with the home. But if you do not have post-tension slab, I always recommend just bolting it down because 4 bolts at 9,000 psi, with, you know, that's almost 40,000 pounds of pressure on your floor. That safe will never come out of there unless, you know, it's taken out by a professional. So,
is there a spot in your house that you recommend? I mean, obviously, probably not an exterior wall. You know, I don't know.
Well, here's what when I first got in the safe business, I recognized that a lot of people were putting these in living rooms, and then they'd open up their drapes or they'd have these beautiful windows, and everybody driving by sees that there's a safe in the front room. So I would not recommend that. I like, you know, master bedroom closets is probably the most popular. Some of these laundry rooms now are fairly large, so people are putting them there. Just out of sight, out of mind, right? I mean, even people that are welcome into our home, we still need to out of sight, out of mind. And I say that because in 31 years of business, we've had 18 attempted break-ins that we're aware of. And 10 of the 18, according to police reports, were friends or family members. So internally, our statistics would say you're more likely to be robbed by friends or family than some guy off the street trying to break into your safe, because that's what our records indicate.
So having a digital code of 1, 2, 3, 4 is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, or your birthday.
Just on that note, just out of curiosity, I think a floor safe is awesome, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, floor safes were very popular, again, until post-tension came out, and then they kind of went away from that. Again, floor safes are great because they're out of sight, out of mind. The only problems that we run into is humidity. There's no fire protection on a floor safe. There's no humidity protection in the floor safe, and unfortunately, that gets in the ground. So you have to put stuff down there, dehumidifiers, et cetera, to keep the smell and moisture out of that. So my dad had 2 floor safes in our house growing up. So I had one in my bedroom.
You installed a couple for us too on some remodels that we did. But yeah, so let me ask this question, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this. The federal government wants to open my safe. Are you going to give them the code, the master code? Because there's a master code for every safe, right?
We don't do that. And matter of fact, the MRC code is now given to the customer. So we don't even put ourselves in a predicament to have to be in that situation, which is a great thing. That's your business.
Good.
And I treat every invoice with a customer's name and address on it as classified, and it gets locked in a safe every night. It's not something that I want to keep out on my desk or anything like that. It's to me, it's important because I know the feeling. We all know the feeling of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that there was a story about that very same thing happening with one of your competitors, that they actually were given the combination, which seemed very odd to me. I mean, it seemed very odd to me. So.
Yep, absolutely, and that cost that company, I believe, $70 million in revenue in one particular year. Their CEO was fired, and rumors are, this can't be.
Don't tell anybody.
Confirmed.
Well, they can't be confirmed, but the rumor is they're up for sale again. So, those type of actions have consequences, and unfortunately, the great thing about carrying Fort Knox is I don't have to worry about someone coming into my shop going, "Hey, you sold me this piece of junk. We were robbed last night. We lost everything we worked our entire lives for." I don't have to worry about that. I sell a much higher end product that I don't have to worry about my business or my customers.
Absolutely. Let's talk about warranty and service. And what kind of support is offered after somebody buys a Fort Knox safe?
Well, the great thing about Fort Knox is they lifetime warranty everything. It's not just attempted break-in, or fire. So any of those 3 instances, we would just need a police report and the safe would be replaced. But we lifetime warranty wear and tear. If the paint were to ever fade on one of their gloss painted safes, they warranty that. And if a shelf breaks, I mean, they are the top-notch tier in the safe industry.
So let's talk about the question that on everybody's mind. What do these suckers cost?
Well, an entry-level safe is going to start probably somewhere around $2,500, but we go all the way up to $33,000. So again, that type of range, it really depends on what you're keeping at home. I mentioned earlier about keeping $80,000 in a $700 big box store safe. We actually had a client from Gilbert come in that had happened to, and she was robbed of everything. They tipped a skateboard or a longboard and took it out to the garage, loaded it into a truck, and off they went with $80,000 worth of precious metals.
Wow, that's disheartening for sure.
So when she comes in and talks to me and says that, hey, we bought the safe at a big box store for $700, the first thing that goes through my mind is, you should have had at least a $5,000 to $7,000 safe, and that would have never happened. But because it was an impulse buy, a lot of my customers, not all of them, but a lot of them think that, hey, I can't get into the safe, so it's probably pretty secure. So nobody else can get into the safe. Well, unfortunately, with social media nowadays, that's just not the case.
Yeah, sometimes I have a hard time getting in my car. So.
Sometimes I have a hard time getting in my own safe because I have to do it which is good. It's fine.
So there's a couple different dials that I want to talk about. You can have the old turn dial, or you could have the push button.
The digital.
And then there's also 2 digitals. Why don't you tell us about those, the different options of that?
We offer a couple different options. We offer the typical manual turn dial, which is still probably the most popular.
That's very cool.
And then we offer an electronic lock called the Titan, which is supposed to be EMP proof. It's a Sargent and Greenleaf product. And then we also offer a redundant lock, which is electronic and manual. So God forbid we had a solar flare or an EMP or that electronic lock were to just fail, you could manually override to get into your safe. That's our most popular electronic option.
Yeah, I mean, we've changed all ours to electronic. I love the dial. I think the dial's cool, and be able to put your combination there and everything. It just becomes not practical when you're in and out of your safe so much. So
absolutely. One of my safes at home has electronic on it. I find that when I have electronics, I put stuff away. My watches go back in the safe. Money goes back in the safe. Whereas if I have to go through the dial, I'll leave it on the dresser and say I'll get to it later, or next time I'm in there I'll put it away. Well, that's clumsy on my part, because what if I run to the store and that happens to be a day I get robbed and those things were left out. So yeah, a lot of it depends on how often you're going to be in the safe.
Okay. So for someone listening who's been keeping their precious metals just hidden at home, what would you say or recommend about making the switch to a quality home safe?
Well, you guys had mentioned it before. The great thing about having a quality home safe at home is this. Not everybody reads the small print at banks when they buy safety deposit boxes. As a matter of fact, most of your new banks don't even offer safety deposit boxes. So having a good quality of safe at home allows you to have your assets close to you, and then you can control them. I can't control my assets if the bank gets shut down or gets bought out by another bank for 90 days. I can't control my assets if it's a Sunday. I can't control my assets if there's looting and rioting in the streets and I need to get to the bank, or there's a run on banks. I can't control any of that. When I have my stuff at home, I have complete control over it.
That's a great point. And I'd even further than that, upon the demise of somebody, if you have to open up the bank safe deposit box, there's a lot of paperwork to do. Whereas a home one, it's just right there for you. So
absolutely.
Any final advice for protecting one's precious metals through a
Well, I would just say this. We live in a day and age now where every house should have a safe in it. And I'm kind of being biased, but I'm kind of being truthful. I mean, we don't live in the best days right now. So a couple things I would recommend too is, if you get something like this for your home, don't tell friends and neighbors about it. Don't gloat, hey, I'm keeping $50K worth of gold and silver at my house. Just, that's your business, you and your partner's business. Just try to keep that at a minimum. Stuff like that travels, and eventually it gets onto someone's ears who probably shouldn't know that information. So I always tell people, it's nobody's business, out of sight, out of mind, and you'll have the ability to get to that stuff at home versus having to travel for it or wait for a certain date.
Well, Jesse, you make it. That's hard though, because those safes are so beautiful. It really is hard not to show them off to the world, because they are
beautiful,
magnificent looking.
They are very nice looking. Well, tell us, Jesse, about where you're located, your website, your phone number, where people can contact you if they're interested.
So we have a showroom that's open 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 to 5, and Saturday, 11 to 4. And we are located at 3050 South Country Club Drive, Suite 10, and that's Mesa, Arizona, 85210. That's country club between Guadalupe and Elliott.
Okay, and that's a new store, right?
I'm going to go ahead. Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a new store there. We had been at the previous location for 30 years, so change was necessary. But I have no problem giving. My personal cell number is 480-385-9595. So I encourage, any of the listeners to give me a call, or if I'm not on the phone, to shoot me a text so that I can get those questions answered. And then come into the shop and take a look. Take a look at things and ask questions.
What about a website? Do you have a website?
Yes, azsafes.com.
Right AZSafes.
The safes is plural. The safes is plural.
Okay, wonderful. Jesse, this has been, I think, very insightful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, and everyone else,
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
you're welcome. And everyone else, thank you for joining us on today for Johnny on the Spot's Decoding the Precious Metals Market, where we're going to talk about, as we did today, all types of things that relate to precious metals.
Yep, and be sure to check our specials pages because we've got always great deals there, very low premiums, and we still want the American people to own as many ounces of precious metals for as few paper dollars.
Yes, Saturday mornings, 7:30, KKNT. See you again.
Thanks so much. Bye now.